Hey, hello, what's up everyone? In this video, I'm going to teach you about Saturn in the 6th house of D9 navamsa chart. So, before beginning, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon and click the like button. And if you have any doubt after watching this video, please to mention it in my below comment section, okay? And yes, please to like and follow my Facebook community page, Parikshith Astrology, where you can also post some astrological stuff and gain knowledge. So, let's begin. So, what do you mean by navamsa chart or the D9 chart? See, navamsa chart or the D9 chart is the second most important chart after your birth chart. It is mainly seen for your status of your planet. It is also seen for your married life. It is also seen for your relationship between you and your spouse and also your marital life. See, mainly navamsa chart or the D9 chart gets activated after your second half of your life or after your married life. So, second half of your life means that is after 36 years or 33 years of your age. Now, coming to the strengthness of your planet. Now, let's say for example, if any planet is deviated in your birth chart. Now, let's say for example, if Sun is deviated in your birth chart and that planet Sun has been exalted in your navamsa chart or the D9 chart, that shows that that planet Sun has gained extra strength or extra power. Now, coming to the married life. See, every individual divisional chart, including the main birth chart, has its own Karaka planet or the significator planet, right? So, likewise in your birth chart, Sun is the main Karaka planet or the significator planet, right? Likewise in your navamsa chart or in the D9 chart, Venus is the Karaka planet or the significator planet. So, in your navamsa chart, Venus should be placed in an exalted sign, Motrikon sign, own sign or in a friendly sign. That shows that your married life will be very good. Now, coming to the 6th house of your D9 chart or navamsa chart. Now, what does 6th house of your D9 chart or your navamsa chart represent? See, 6th house of your D9 chart or navamsa chart represents after your married life, how many enemies will you have or how many competitors will you have. It also shows that whether you will get loans or debts after your married life, and it also shows that whether you will get health problems or accidents or not can be seen to the 6th house of your navamsa chart or the D9 chart. Or it also shows that whether you will have some struggle after your married life or not, or during your married life or not, can be seen to the 6th house of your D9 chart or the navamsa chart. What does planet Saturn represents? See, planet Saturn represents older people. So, see, planet Saturn also represents older people. It also represents laziness. It also represents service. So, when Saturn is sitting in the 6th house of D9 chart or navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, you might be interested to do job or give service to the people. Now, what happens when Saturn is sitting in the 6th house of D9 navamsa chart? So, when Saturn is sitting in the 6th house of D9 navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, you may fight with your spouse, or it also shows that you may get divorced during the Saturn Mahadasha, because 6th house also represents divorce, right? So, you might have chances to get divorced. And it also shows that during Saturn Dasha, you might be able to take loan from someone or some persons or from the bank also. And it also shows that you might be having long-term enemies, because Saturn represents long-term and 6th house represents enemies. So you might be having long-term enemies. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Mercury? Now, what does planet Mercury stands for? See, Mercury represents actually your business. It also represents your intelligence. It also represents your logical ability. So, when Mercury and Saturn are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9 navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, if you want to start business, you can start business by providing some services like service-based business. So, you can do that. And it also shows that you need to be very careful in terms of your relationship. Like, say for example, if you scold your wife, and if you do something bad to your wife, and also if you talk bad to your wife, then there might be chances of getting divorced. And some fights may also happen. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Jupiter? Now, what does planet Jupiter represent? See, planet Jupiter represents your knowledge, that is your divine knowledge. It also represents your spiritual knowledge. It also represents your teachers, your advisors, your counselors. It also represents your children. Now, if Saturn and Jupiter are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9 navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, you may get health problems. And it also shows that you might get some financial problems also. It also shows that there might be some health issues with your children after your married life. or there might be some relationship problems with you and your gurus or your teachers after your married life. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Venus? Now, what does planet Venus represents? It represents your love, romance. It also represents your relationship between you and your spouse, especially your wife in a man's chart. It also represents luxurious life. It also represents vehicle. So when Venus and Saturn are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life you might get some accidents also. Possibility are there. Irrespective of the zodiac sign, possibilities are there. If Venus is debilitated or if Venus is afflicted, like if Venus is in unfriendly sign, then surely you will get accident. And it also shows that if it is not receiving aspect of Jupiter, then there might be surely accident also. And it also shows that you might fight with your spouse. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Sun? Now, what does planet Sun represent? It represents king, it represents government, it represents your father. Now, when Sun and Saturn are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, you might fight with your father or any fatherly figures or father-in-law also sometimes. And it also shows that your father's health may get affected. And it also shows that you get promotions if you are working in the government job. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Mars? Now, what does planet Mars represent? It represents your aggressive nature. It also represents your fighting ability and also your logical ability sometimes. It also represents your energy, physical energy. And it also represents technical things like engineering fields, like that. So, when Saturn and Mars are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, the navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life, you might be interested towards the technical things and you will also have more number of enemies because Saturn and Mars are enemies towards each other, and if it is sitting in the 6th house, you will get lot of enemies and struggle from them. And it also shows that you might be having lot of some loan problems and all, some financial problems. And it also shows that you might frequently have struggles in your life or after your married life. Now, what happens when Saturn is conjuncted with planet Rahu? Now, what does planet Rahu represents? It represents illusory thinking, it represents your imagination in world, and it also represents like Maya, like everything like illusory thing, as I told you earlier. And it is also unorthodox planet. Now, when Saturn and Rahu are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, the navamsa chart, it shows that you might get addicted towards the alcohol, and it also may ruin your life. It also shows that you might have some health problems after your married life. Now, if Rahu and Saturn are placed very well, it may take you into very great heights in your career or in your professional areas of life if you are working in job, especially in private job or government job. Now, what happens when Saturn and Ketu are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, the navamsa chart? Now, what does Ketu represents? It represents spiritual mind. It also represents occult science. It also represents spiritual growth. It also represents like separation from one thing to another. So if Saturn and Ketu are conjuncted in the 6th house of D9, the navamsa chart, it shows that after your married life you might not be interested to work in job. So these are all the things that I mainly analyzed when Saturn is sitting in the 6th house of D9, the navamsa chart. So this is it for today, guys. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe below, or else I will see in the next video, that is planet in the first house of dasamsa chart or in the D10 chart in Vedic astrology. So if you want any consultancy, please to contact my given below WhatsApp number, or else you can even mail me also. So until next, thank you, bye bye, love you, take care.